It had been raining for 3 days. Not hard, not angry, just steady, as if the sky had forgotten how to stop. They said the weather would clear by morning, but mornings came and went, and still the rain kept talking to the ground. I walked without direction. The street shimmered like a mirror, and every reflection looked a little older than it should. Storefronts were closed. A single light flickered behind a cafe window. Someone cleaning, or maybe just waiting. Sometimes I thought the rain wasn't made of water, but of memories. Each drop a moment the sky didn't want to hold anymore. I thought about her, not the way she left, but the silence that followed. It was a strange silence, not empty, but full of everything I didn't say. If you listen carefully, grief has a sound. It's the quiet between footsteps, the pause before a sigh, the echo that never quite fades. At home, the clock had stopped. Not because it was broken, but because I wanted it to be. Time was moving too fast for someone who'd stayed behind. The walls carried the faint scent of her perfume, lavender and rain. It lingered like a ghost that hadn't decided whether to stay. I boiled water. The kettle whistled softly, and I poured the tea into her cup, the one with a small chip on the rim. Habit, I suppose. Some rituals outlived the reason they began. Outside, a newspaper drifted by, soaked and unreadable. Its headline promised sunlight, but I didn't believe it. I watched it slide into the gutter, ink bleeding like thoughts I'd tried to forget. I used to hate days like this. Now I found comfort in the sameness. The way rain hides everything, the way it makes the world quiet enough to hear your own heart again. Sometimes I wondered if she could hear it too, wherever she was. When the rain finally stopped, silence felt wrong. It wasn't peace. It was absence, the kind that reminds you something has ended. Drops still clung to the window, trembling in the weak light. They hadn't realized it was over. Maybe neither had I. I stepped outside. The street was glistening, the air heavy and new. And I thought, maybe forgetting doesn't happen all at once. Maybe it's like the rain. It stops slowly, one drop at a time.
She told me the key was still under the mat. The same words, spoken as if no time had passed, but time had moved. For her, for me, for the house itself. And yet, something in her tone made me believe the house had been waiting. The house stood at the edge of the road, where the asphalt gave up and the earth began. It looked smaller than I remembered, like it had folded itself inward, a shell protecting what was left inside. The paint had peeled away in soft curls, and ivy had climbed the windows, tracing veins across the glass like a slow heartbeat. I knelt down. The mat was damp, heavy with years. When I lifted it, the key was there, tarnished but patient, a small piece of metal that still believed in promises. I held it in my palm, and the air around me shifted. A warmth, or maybe recognition. Some houses remember. The door unlocked with a sigh. Inside, the air smelled like rain and dust, like someone had just left, but a long time ago. I whispered her name, and for a moment, I thought I heard it echoed back, not as an answer, but as memory breathing in the walls. The clock in the hallway was ticking again, though I hadn't touched it. Each beat sounded slower than the last, as if the house was sinking to my pulse. I walked through each room. Everything was as it had been. The crooked lamp, the old blue chair, the photo on the wall that had faded almost to nothing. Only one thing was different. On the kitchen table, a single teacup filled halfway with water. The surface trembled, not from my footsteps, but from something unseen, as if the air itself was remembering movement. I touched the cup. The water was warm. I looked at the window. Rain outside, but the sill was dry. And then I knew. She hadn't meant her key. She meant mine. On the counter, tucked beneath a cracked ceramic bowl, lay a small folded note. The paper was yellow, edges soft as petals. My name was written on it, in my own handwriting. It said, "You'll forget the door before you forget the sound." I stared at it for a long time. The ink shimmered slightly, as if it were still drying. When I looked up, the clock had stopped again. The house was utterly still. I stepped outside. The rain had ended without a sound. The clouds were splitting, letting through soft golden light, the kind that doesn't belong to any hour. I turned the key in my hand, and for a second, it caught the light just so, and I saw a reflection that wasn't mine. It smiled. Then the wind lifted, and the key slipped from my fingers, falling back beneath the mat, as if the story had folded itself closed. I didn't pick it up. Some doors, I think, aren't meant to stay open, only remembered.
The Rain and the Key are the first 2 stories in a series of 10 magical realist audio tales. Gentle cinematic stories about memory, time, and the quiet magic of ordinary life. And more. Each week, 2 new stories will be released. 10 stories in total. 10 small worlds to escape into, where emotion, sound, and imagination meet. The Rain That Wouldn't Stop. A reflection on loss and the slow rhythm of remembering. The Key Under the Mat, a quiet mystery about doors, memory, and the things that wait for us.